Hello, happy August. I don't know how it's August already, but happy August to you. Big news this week. Portland startup signs a strategic investment deal with Accenture. That's pretty exciting. I'll tell you more about that. But before I do, each and every week I like to introduce you to somebody new from the Oregon startup community. People are submitting their profiles all the time. You should submit your profile if you haven't already. And it would be great to see you in the database of all these Oregon people. It doesn't matter if you're a founder or a mentor or an investor or maybe a vendor who likes to help startups. Regardless of what the case is, this is a database full of Oregon startup folks, and I will introduce you to them on a regular basis just because that's how people get connected, is by being introduced. So this week, before we get into the news, I wanted to highlight one of those folks. Meet Brittany Ellich. Brittany is a software engineer that is passionate about building community in Portland. She is an artist, blogger, and podcaster, creating content about the beauty and science of software building. She is always happy to connect folks together as one of the organizers of PDX Code and Coffee, and she's very interested in helping out with speaking at or helping to organize events in the area. Brittany is currently working at GitHub, drawing mediocre illustrations, writing for the Balanced Engineer newsletter, and podcasting on overcommitted.dev. So thank you, Brittany, for submitting your profile. I'm happy to introduce you to the rest of the community. And if Brittany's profile sounds interesting to you, please reach out to her and connect. Okay, into the big news. Portland startup. You may know it as Pocket Mentor. Its new name is YearOne. YearOne signed a strategic agreement with Accenture where there's going to be some investment coming from Accenture Ventures. Terms of the deal were not disclosed, but it's strategic in that Accenture is also going to help them as a development partner. So giant global consulting firm signing a deal with a Portland startup. It's pretty big news. Let me read part of the quote from the press release so that we can be explicit about what's going on. As part of the investment led by Accenture Ventures, Accenture will collaborate with YearOne to help businesses accelerate the life cycle of digital product development with AI-powered visibility, coaching, and performance optimization. And while there aren't a lot of details there, I wanted to make sure and share it because YearOne has had a really interesting kind of trajectory through the Portland startup community. So I first encountered Stephen Ajayi, the founder of YearOne, when he was at Nedspace. And I can remember Mark Grimes reaching out to me and saying, you got to talk to this founder. He's doing something really interesting. And I sat down with Stephen. He was working on something called Pocket Mentor. And the concept of the startup, which remains true to this day, was really to help first-time junior developers get the mentorship and coaching they needed to become better developers and to continue along the path to becoming senior developers. And to do that, he was using both curriculum infrastructure within the product, but also making connections with senior developers who wanted to mentor junior developers. So really good, virtuous cycle, paying it forward kind of product that was Pocket Mentor at Nedspace. I still remember having this conversation with him at Nedspace, and I always love the founders who are like, why would I go through Pi? What benefit would that give me? And we had a very, realistic conversation about it. And I shared the benefits of going through Pi. I shared things that Pi wasn't so good at and areas that might be frustrating to him as a founder. And after that conversation, it wound up that he did apply to Pi. He was part of that last class that was working out of Puppet just prior to the pandemic. So unfortunately, while we were doing a lot of prep for the demo day, we're still in person doing things. It wound up being the first virtual demo day that we did, that Pocket Mentor went through. Then Pocket Mentor got accepted into the Techstars program, went through the Techstars accelerator, came out the other side as YearOne, and then they were just kind of off to the races. They raised a little capital, kept building the product, kept growing the company, kept refining it to figure out like what was really needed by organizations as they were bringing on junior developers. Like how did the whole development ecosystem work in a collaborative way, and really just building the infrastructure to help that occur more effectively and efficiently. And it's kind of proven out in that Accenture has now partnered with them and invested in them. So it's been great to watch the journey of this company. Stephen is now in New York. He moved back east to be in a hub of more kind of corporate consulting activity. So he was a little closer to that action, but there's still a number of the team that are here in Portland and working hard on YearOne. So again, still very much a Portland startup. Congratulations to YearOne on their Accenture deal. Speaking of AI, you may have heard of the whole vibe coding thing, the vibe coding where it's like you chat with the LLM and get it to write the code for you, and then magically you suddenly have a product that kind of works. Maybe it doesn't work at production level, but it kind of works. And then maybe you refine it some more and continue tinkering with it, continue conversing with your AI code developer, and eventually vibe coding, you may get to something that has the potential to be used at scale. But then more often than not, you wind up in this situation where you've developed a prototype that works in a sandbox environment or in a demo environment, but moving it to production can sometimes be more challenging than you would think. So it's not just coding the product, it's getting the product to live somewhere that people can actually use it. So it dawned on the folks at Portland's Liminal Labs that also is an opportunity for AI to do what it does well. And this is more like vibe DevOpsing, maybe. They're using AI to help move that application that you may have vibe coded or may have coded by hand, but helping you more efficiently move it into production. And if it hits errors as you're going along the way, then the AI can help resolve those errors, tell you why those errors occurred, tell you how to prevent those errors from happening in the future, and gracefully move the product from a sandbox to a production environment so that everybody can use it. The product's called Limo. So like a limo, it gets you from one place to another in style and quite casually. I'm interested in seeing where this goes. I think, so often the world of AI has either been focused on using AI to build a thing or taking an existing thing and bolting AI onto the side of it. This is a really interesting space for an AI solution to kind of step in and say, these are processes that need to occur, and AI can be helpful in that regard. So I'm going to keep an eye on Limo. I will link it up for you if you would like to try it out, if you're doing some vibe coding or hand coding and like to see what it does when it's moving something to production. I think it's still waitlist, limited beta kind of thing, but I did get a note when I wrote up the post that it's getting close. There's more news coming soon, so stay tuned for more on Limo. And then I realized this crazy again, but another AI startup. This AI startup is called Thread. It was on Product Hunt this week. Thread is really designed to help with sales. So for salespeople who are interacting with other folks, trying to close deals, Thread is kind of a tag-along companion that gives them not only the information they need to prepare for the call, but the information they may need throughout the call. So like pulling from CRM or other resources to help them find the answers quickly so that they can help this potential customer see the value of what they're delivering, get their questions answered, and hopefully help the salesperson close the deal sooner rather than later. I don't have a ton of functionality for it. There's a Thread promo video that does a good job of providing a high level view of what it does. And if you're in sales, if you're one of those startup founders who's like, I really wish I could be better at sales, or I wish I could get some help with sales because you have to sell all the time, then Thread may be the assistant you're looking for. I'll go ahead and link it up, and I'm looking forward to your feedback on how Thread helps you with your sales process. Okay, those are the startups that came across my desk this week. Again, as we talk about, summer can get a little bit quiet. There wasn't a ton of news happening this week, but there are events coming up that I want to make sure that you're aware of. This Saturday is both Zig Day and HTML Day, Zig as opposed to Zag, and HTML Day as the HTML that runs the web and all those kind of things. Hypertext markup language for those of you who don't like the acronyms. So both of these events happening in different spots in town are designed to be collaborative coding events. So not necessarily full on hackathon, but a collective, collaborative group of people coding together. If you have a project that you would like to collaboratively code with other folks on, then Zig Day may be a good option for you. Or if you just have an appreciation for HTML in its purest form, and you would like to hang out with a lot of other HTML aficionados, then HTML Day may be for you. I hope you take advantage of either of those days. Great chance to get together with some other developers in the community in just a fun way and explore either HTML or another product you may be working on. That's Saturday. On Sunday and Monday, there's a nascent startups workshop happening. So if you have a startup idea and you're having a hard time figuring out, should I pursue this idea? Is this real? Is it viable? Am I hitting on a pain point? Is there a target market? How do I assess all of this stuff? There's so many questions I have as a potential founder, and I don't want to, get out ahead of my skis or get in trouble by quitting my day job and starting this thing and then figuring out it doesn't work. Well, if you're at that point where you're trying to figure out if this concept is even worth pursuing, that's what Nascent Startups is for. So this workshop is being hosted by the Portland Metro Region Innovation Hub, the hub of innovation for the Portland region. They're hosting both sessions on Sunday and Monday. I believe both sessions are free. They happen at different times of day. I think the Sunday one's in the afternoon and the Monday one's in the morning or something. I'll link them up so that you have access to them. They're on Limo, so you can register. But I would say if you're struggling with a startup idea, if you're kind of challenged and trying to figure out if it's worth pursuing, then this is exactly what this workshop was created for. And the beauty of going through this program with an idea or ideas you may have currently is you'll really gain this kind of rubric for judging future ideas you may come up with as well. So this is not just designed to say, for this one idea, here's how you figure it out. This is to give you a foundational basis for assessing any startup idea you may come up with. I don't care if you come up with it on a walk, or maybe in the shower, or maybe on the commute, or wherever you are, you've got startup ideas popping all the time. This will give you a way to assess every single startup idea you have, because who knows, it might be that one random idea that actually has the potential, even though you're enamored of another one of your ideas. So if you need help figuring that out, Nascent Startups happening Sunday and Monday, and will be happening multiple times elsewhere, but this is just the most available opportunity for you to take that workshop. Tuesday, Startup Couve Coffee downtown. So if you're over in Vancouver, want to connect with people in the Vancouver community, or maybe you're in Portland and are interested in what's happening in the Vancouver startup community, head across the Columbia and hang out with them downtown on Tuesday. And then on Friday, it's Startup Couve Coffee Eastside, because there's so much going on in the Vancouver startup community that they got to have the two coffees during the week to make sure that both downtown and Eastside folks have access to the community and that people are getting connected. So that's two opportunities for you. Maybe if you're out East County or a little further out, the Eastside one would be more convenient for you. Maybe if you're downtown, close to the I-5 corridor, the downtown one in the Couve would be more convenient for you, or go to both. I mean, meet a whole bunch of people from the Vancouver startup community by attending both the Startup Couve coffees next week. And then this one, old favorite, Thursday is the OBI, the Oregon Bioscience Incubator Accelerate Biotech Happy Hour. This used to happen consistently. We hosted it at one time at Pi, I remember. I've been to any number of the Accelerate Biotech Happy Hours. It personally I started my career in digital healthcare startups. So healthcare, digital health, biotech, always near and dear to my heart. And this is a really good, unique group of people who are focused on biotech and digital health. So these may not be people that you encounter elsewhere in the startup community. If you're working on a healthcare solution, if you're working on a biotech solution, if you're working on a medical device, these are your people. So try and make it to this happy hour. Of course, OBI is the center of all this activity with startups in the region, in the state. So they're great. The community's great. So if you're thinking about doing something in health, let's say you go to nascent startups with your digital health biotech idea and you run it through the rubric and you're like, this idea actually has merit. I should pursue this idea. What do I do next? What you do next is go to the Accelerate Biotech Happy Hour and hang out with those folks, and they'll help you take the next step. And then maybe you wind up in the Oregon Bioscience Incubator. And then who knows? Maybe you wind up in Angel Oregon Biotech. I don't know, but I'm just saying, if you're thinking about working in healthcare or with your startup or biotech or digital health or whatever, this is the best place to meet your people. So please take the opportunity to attend that happy hour on Thursday. Okay, pretty quick week. As I said, we're at the point where it's time for secrets. Like, we're kind of through the news. That was quick. I had a bunch of links this week. I don't know if I told you, but every day I do a bunch of reading. I read through all my feeds. I read through all my emails. And if there's anything that I'm like, this is interesting to Portland folks, or this is interesting to Oregon folks, or this is interesting startup fodder, then I capture that in my links, and then I grab all those links and I post a big collection of links once a day that you can kind of go through and read at your leisure, and hopefully helps keep you informed and helps keep you from having to chase through all those feeds and newsletters. I hope I'm curating some good information for you. So if that's of interest to you, Silicon Florist links arrangements happening every weekday for you to keep you informed about startup stuff. This week, tomorrow, maybe even while you're watching this, I'm speaking at FOSSI, the free and open source software yearly conference that's being hosted at Portland State University. I'm pretty excited. It's been a while since I've spoken at an open source convention kind of thing. You know, back in the day, there used to be OSCON here, which was the O'Reilly gigantic open source convention. And then I spoke there a couple times, and then it moved away from Portland. And so there were a group of people who were like, we should build our own open source convention-y thing. And I was like, that's a great idea. Can I help? And so I was on the initial organizing founding team for Open Source Bridge, which became a regular annual gathering of open source folks here in Portland. That was actually, to be honest, more open sourcey and collegial and collaborative than really OSCON had become, because OSCON was becoming very corporate and expensive. And so Open Source Bridge was more grassroots pursuit. Spoke there a few years and was always honored and humbled to get the opportunity to do that. And this year, the folks at FOSSI said, hey, would you be willing to put in a proposal for a talk? And I was like, yeah, of course. I don't think you'll pick me. It's been way too long since I've spoke. And I clearly don't know how to use the English language. It's been way too long since I have spoken, and a little rusty. So I'm looking forward to it, but I hope the crowd gives me a little grace, because I don't really speak publicly. I've never really been terribly good at speaking publicly, and I don't do it regularly. But I am looking forward to this, to getting the chance to speak again. And so I'll be doing that on Friday. And if they record it, I'll share it with you, because I think you deserve to see how bad I am at public speaking. because it will kind of set the low bar and inspire you to do more public speaking, because you're like, if that guy can speak, then I can clearly speak. What else is going on? I got the chance, didn't actually talk, but had the chance to go back and forth with Faris Mubarak at NedSpace today, just kind of brainstorming, helping think through the new NedSpace space and providing some feedback on some ideas and those kind of things. And I love Faris's energy and optimism, and so I get to slip into being the like pessimistic realist and helping him with those ideas, and so that's always fun. And it's always interesting to see where he's going conceptually with NedSpace and the community there. So I look forward to seeing what comes out of their new space right there on Pioneer Square. And if you're interested in more on that, then I recorded a bit last week. You can go back and listen to the history of NedSpace and where they are now, and why I think it's so important and exciting for downtown Portland to have a co-working presence like that right in the middle of downtown, right on Portland's living room. So I will continue to support them and promote them and provide any feedback they're willing to listen to in hopes of being helpful for NedSpace. Also got to catch up with Jason Langsdorff, who you may know from the old Learn with Jason series on YouTube, where he would help you learn how to code and those kind of things. He has now kind of morphed that into Code TV. And I just wanted to catch up with him and see how things are going. You know, they kind of have that sprinty kind of hackathon thing where individual developers kind of not compete, but sort of compete with one another. You know, there's like a conceit, like build a thing that does X, Y, or Z and use this product to do it, or you have to incorporate this technology to do it. And then the developers go develop, and then they come back with their prototype and they demo it to one another. It's a really entertaining show and super interesting. Even for me, I'm a hobbyist developer. I'm not a great developer or even remotely good developer, but I really appreciate the way that developers' brains work. And so watching them kind of think through problems or how they solve problems, and the good-natured ribbing that occurs in those kind of situations. So it was really great to chat with Jason about that. And then he's got another show on there that's kind of like, it's halfway between kind of a Jeopardy-esque kind of question-based show and Hot Ones, the interview show where you eat progressively hotter wings while you're being interviewed. So it kind of combines those together, but for code and for developers. And I'm spacing the name of the show, but I will link it up. Anyway, I just wanted to catch up with him, see what was going on, compare notes, see if there's anything I could do to be helpful. It was a really great conversation. It was good to see him. I think it was the first time we'd met in person. We have the parasocial internet relationship, but it was the first time we got to sit down and chat. So that was good too. I'm still working on stuff, still thinking through some of those ideas. But a lot of this was just socializing ideas with other people this week to figure out what's going on in the community, what might be needed, where there might be opportunities to engage the community in a meaningful way. So all in all, a good week working with the community as well. I hope you had a good week as well. I hope you are hanging in there. And until we get the chance to chat again, which I hope is soon, please keep up the good work.